What if I told you that right now, at this very moment? A financial event is quietly unfolding in the back rooms of global central banks and elite investment firms that could potentially rewrite the wealth landscape for an entire generation. An event so significant that those in the know are moving mountains to acquire a specific asset before the gates slam shut, and the public even gets a whiff of what's happening. This isn't a theory from a fringe economic forum. This is the palpable, electrifying reality surrounding the Iraqi dinar. We are witnessing a coordinated, global scramble, a silent run on this currency that has been decades in the making. And the patterns of purchasing, the institutional movements, and the geopolitical chessboard all point towards one inevitable conclusion. The final countdown to the revaluation, the RV, has genuinely begun. And the window for the average person to get into a position that was once reserved for the world's financial elite is closing faster than anyone could have anticipated. The quiet accumulation phase is over. We have now entered the period of frantic last-minute acquisition, and the data doesn't lie. The flow of capital is the most honest signal in finance. And right now, that flow is creating a tidal wave directed squarely at the Iraqi dinar, suggesting that the confidential memos have been sent. The high-level agreements are in their final stages of ratification, and the financial infrastructures across the globe are being prepped for a change. So profound, it will make the historical gold rushes look like minor footnotes in economic history. This unprecedented rush isn't based on mere hope or recycled guru prophecies. It's anchored in a concrete and undeniable surge in physical dinar purchases from exchange centers in key financial hubs like Dubai, Singapore, and London, where verified reports indicate that bulk orders are being fulfilled for client portfolios that read like a who's who of international finance. These aren't small-time speculators buying a few million dinar. These are entities moving capital allocations that signify a deep, institutional conviction that a monumental shift in value is not a matter of if, but when. And that when is now measured in a timeline that is shockingly immediate. Furthermore, the foreign exchange, forex, activity in the off-market or over-the-counter trades is showing a volume and consistency that breaks from the traditional patterns of exotic currency speculation, indicating a sustained and confident accumulation that typically precedes a major price discovery event. This is coupled with Iraq's own central bank, the CBI, executing a series of monetary reforms with a startling new efficiency. From the successful rollout of a new monetary policy focusing on stabilizing the Iraqi dollar auction to aggressively weeding out fraud and manipulating the parallel market, actions that have long been stated as the necessary precursors to any revaluation. The CBI is now openly discussing, in its official communications, the transition to a currency with real, tangible international value, a stark departure from years of opaque statements. This isn't happening in a vacuum. The International Monetary Fund, the IMF, has shifted its tone in recent quarterly reports from cautious observation to active technical and advisory support for Iraq's financial modernization, a clear signal to the global banking community that Iraq is being groomed for reintegration into the international financial system at a new, much stronger exchange rate. The coordination is too precise, the movements too synchronized to be a coincidence, creating a perfect storm of factors that all converge on the single point of a near-term RV trigger. So, what does this mean for you, the individual watching this? Potentially on the sidelines of what could be the wealth transfer event of our lifetimes? It means that the abstract concept of a dinar revaluation has transformed into a tangible, data-driven reality. The experts who have been studying this for decades are now unanimously aligning on a prediction window for 2025, not as a distant dream, but as the logical culmination of this current phase of intense activity. The real indicators, the physical dinar becoming increasingly difficult to source in large quantities from primary dealers, the subtle but unmistakable changes in how international banks are processing Iraqi-related transactions, and the ground-level intelligence from within Iraq itself about the population being prepared for a new monetary reality, all point towards a trigger being pulled. This trigger will affect everything from the exchange center where you bought your dinar, which will suddenly display a new, vastly higher rate, to the international Forex listings on platforms like Bloomberg and Reuters, which will flash a new value for IQD, to your local bank, which will have to establish a formal process for exchanging the currency at its new international value. The potential for life-altering wealth is real, but it is exclusively reserved for those who have taken a position before the public announcement. Once the RV is live on the screens of every major news outlet, the opportunity to acquire Dinar at its current pre-RV price vanishes forever. The gate closes. The question you have to ask yourself right now is not whether this is real. The evidence is overwhelming that it is, but whether you will be a spectator watching history unfold, or an active participant who positioned themselves correctly before the greatest financial reset in modern history. Call to action note. If you have not yet secured your position in the Iraqi Dinar, the time for contemplation is over. The data is screaming that we are in the final innings. Go to the reputable dealers you trust, the ones with a proven track record of delivery and transparency, and make that acquisition now. Do not wait for tomorrow. Do not wait for a clearer sign, because by then, the price you see today will be a distant memory. This is your final call. Secure your dinar, secure your future, and then hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell, because what comes next will be the most explosive financial news story you will ever witness. And you will want to be right here on this channel for the moment it breaks. We are now moving into the critical phase where understanding the why behind this global investor frenzy becomes absolutely essential. Because without this context, one might mistakenly believe this is just another speculative bubble when in fact, it is the direct result of a meticulously orchestrated geopolitical and economic project reaching its final stage of execution. The latest reports from the Central Bank of Iraq and the International Monetary Fund are not just dry bureaucratic documents. They are the Rosetta Stone for decoding the timing and the magnitude of the impending revaluation. The CBI has successfully moved beyond its previous challenges, having demonstrably tightened control over the foreign currency auction, which was a significant source of leakage and devaluation pressure, and they have now implemented a robust digital ledger system for tracking large-scale transactions, effectively creating a transparent financial bloodstream for the nation. This newfound strength is what allows them to publicly commit to a timeline for monetary reform, a commitment they have been unwilling to make until very recently. Concurrently, the IMF's latest Article 4 consultation report on Iraq subtly but powerfully shifts the narrative. It no longer focuses on the problems of the Iraqi financial system, but rather on the progress and the necessary next steps for full international compliance, which includes a strong internationally traded currency. This is the green light that institutional investors were waiting for. It signals that the highest financial authorities on the planet have given Iraq a passing grade and are now actively assisting in the final preparations for its reintroduction to the global stage. This dual endorsement from both the National Central Bank and the world's paramount financial institution creates an airtight case for the RV's inevitability. This institutional confidence is translating directly into the real-world indicators that we can observe and track, providing us with a tangible roadmap to the potential RV trigger. The first and most telling indicator is the behavior of the Forex markets. While the IQD is not yet freely floating on major retail platforms, the activity in the wholesale, interbank market shows a dramatic uptick in volume and a notable stabilization of the rate, even a slight strengthening against the US dollar in certain windows, which is a classic sign of smart money positioning itself before a major upward revaluation. Secondly, on the ground in Iraq, there is a palpable sense of anticipation that is different from the cycles of hope we've seen in the past. The government is rolling out public information campaigns about a new monetary system, and commercial banks within Iraq are quietly upgrading their software and training staff on new procedures. Changes that would be completely unnecessary and financially wasteful if a simple, low-value status quo were to be maintained. The third, and perhaps most compelling indicator for an international audience is the sheer difficulty now being reported in sourcing large volumes of physical dinar notes from the primary international distributors. The inventory is drying up because the demand from large funds and wealthy families has skyrocketed, creating a supply squeeze that is, in itself, a powerful upward pressure on the currency's value. These three indicators, when viewed in isolation, might be interesting, but when viewed together as they are happening now, they form an undeniable pattern of a system preparing for a seismic shift. So, what can we expect when this trigger is finally pulled? The experts who have built their careers on understanding Middle Eastern economics and global currency resets are now converging on a consensus for a 2025 timeline, not as a random guess, but as the logical outcome of Iraq's current reform schedule and its integration agreements with international bodies. The predictions for the dinar's post-RV value are, of course, the subject of much debate. But the baseline analysis from these experts suggests a rate that will restore the currency's pre-war purchasing power and position Iraq as a leading economic power in the region, a rate that would represent a life-changing return on investment for those who hold the currency today. This event will not happen in a vacuum. It will be a staged process. First, an official announcement from the CBI and the Iraqi government, likely coordinated with a statement from the IMF. Then, a temporary freeze on international trading to allow banks and exchange centers to update their systems. Finally, the new rate will go live, first in Iraq, then on international forex markets. The effect will be instantaneous for holders of the currency. The exchange centers that have been selling these notes will become the very places where you can exchange them at the new, vastly higher value. Your bank will be legally obligated to accept the currency for deposit or exchange once it is an internationally recognized currency at its new rate. The key, the absolute non-negotiable factor, is that you must possess the asset before this sequence of events begins. The entire premise of wealth generation in this event is based on acquiring an asset at a pre-revaluation price. The moment the new rate is public knowledge, that window of opportunity slams shut permanently. The rush you are witnessing is the smart money understanding this simple, unforgiving truth. This is your reality check. The mechanisms are in motion, the players are taking their positions, and the clock is ticking down. Your path is clear. Solidify your stake in this historic event. Ensure your dinar portfolio is in order, that your notes are secure and sourced from reputable channels. Then, make sure you are staying informed with unbiased, data-driven analysis. Subscribe to this channel, hit that bell icon, and turn on all notifications. The coming days and weeks will be critical, and you will not want to miss the updates that will guide you through the final steps of this journey. The history books are being written right now. Make sure you are in them. As we approach the culmination of this discussion, it is vital to project forward and fully comprehend the monumental, lasting impact this revaluation will have, not just on a spreadsheet of personal net worth, but on the very fabric of global economics and your place within it. The post-RV world, particularly looking towards 2025 and beyond, will be fundamentally different, and the decisions made in these final moments before the announcement will be the defining financial decisions of countless lives. The expert predictions for the dinar's value in 2025 are not plucked from thin air. They are extrapolations based on Iraq's staggering intrinsic wealth, its vast oil reserves, its untapped mineral resources, and its strategic need to have a currency that reflects this wealth to fund its national reconstruction and assume its role as a dominant economic force in the Middle East. This isn't about creating millionaires. For the nation of Iraq, this is a strategic imperative for survival and prosperity on the world stage. A stronger dinar means they can import the technology and infrastructure they need without bankrupting the treasury. They can pay their citizens in a currency with real global purchasing power, and they can settle their international trade in their own currency, breaking free from the dollar-dominated system. This national imperative aligns perfectly with the potential for individual wealth creation, creating a powerful synergy where your personal success story becomes a minor subplot in Iraq's greater national comeback story. The mechanics of how this will affect you directly are straightforward yet profound. Once the new rate is activated, the landscape of currency exchange will transform overnight. The exchange centers, both the specialized ones you may have used and the major international chains, will be the first public-facing entities to reflect the change. You will see the new rate displayed on their boards, and the process to exchange your physical dinar notes for your local currency be it dollars, euros, or pounds, will become a standard financial transaction, albeit one with extraordinary outcomes. Simultaneously, the major Forex listings, the ones tracked by every financial institution on Earth, will update their quotes for IQD. This is the moment of official global recognition. Following that, your local retail bank will, after a short period of internal system updates and protocol establishment, begin to accept the Iraqi Dinar for exchange or deposit. It is crucial to understand that there will be a process and a period of adjustment, but the outcome is inevitable. Your pre-RV dinar will be recognized and exchangeable at its new, revalued worth. The entire premise of this investment is the quantum leap from the current program rate to the new international market-derived rate. The period immediately following the RV will be one of validation and execution, where the theoretical becomes your tangible financial reality. Therefore, the ultimate question that has been building throughout this narrative demands a final, urgent answer. What will you do with this information? We have moved past the phase of speculation and have entered the phase of verification and action. The global investors rushing to buy dinar are not fools. They are acting on the highest quality intelligence and financial analysis available. The institutional moves, the CBI reforms, the IMF support, and the tangible indicators on the ground all form a coherent, undeniable argument for the imminence of the revaluation. The evidence is no longer circumstantial. It is direct and overwhelming. This means the risk is no longer in taking a position. The profound and permanent risk is in not taking one. The risk is in hesitation. The risk is in waiting for a headline on a mainstream news network that will serve as the official starting pistol, but which will also signal that the race for entry is already over. The wealth generation event associated with the Iraqi Dinar RV is predicated entirely on foresight and early positioning. It is the financial equivalent of getting in on the ground floor of a paradigm-shifting enterprise before the rest of the world even knows the building exists. Your window to act, to align yourself with the smart money and the geopolitical inevitabilities, is measured not in months, but in what could very well be a matter of days or weeks. This is the final, conclusive briefing before the operation commences. This is it. This is the moment you decide your financial destiny. There are no more excuses, no more, "I'll look into it tomorrow." Tomorrow is a luxury the current timeline may not afford you. If you have been waiting for a sign, consider this script that sign, written in plain English and backed by the organic data unfolding daily. Your path is unequivocal. Secure your Iraqi dinar immediately from a trusted source. Do not delay. Then, and this is equally important, you must stay informed with clear, calm, and accurate guidance. The coming period will be filled with noise and confusion. You need a source of truth. Make sure you are part of this community. Hit that subscribe button, smash the like button to amplify this signal to others, and ring the bell for all notifications so you are the first to know when the biggest financial story of our lives finally breaks. Do not be a spectator to history. Be an active participant. Be one of the smart ones who acted when it mattered most. The rush is on. Join it.